Good morning. Wave a hand if you can hear me. Feel free to put on your cameras. I would love to see your faces. And welcome today to Igniting Your Best Life. I am so excited to have you here with me this morning. We're going to be going over some amazing things to help you really absolutely learn how you can do whatever it takes to overcome your limiting beliefs. And you can break through those, you can have focus, you can make the changes that you want in your life. And so one of the things I want to let you know right off the bat is you're going to be able to also register for my master class at the end of our presentation today. And my assistant Morgan is here to help all day. And so if you want to give him any messages, he's in the chat and he can help you with any questions you have around that. So again, thank you so much for joining today. It is so wonderful to see. I'm seeing familiar faces and lots of new faces. So welcome everyone. So a lot of people ask me when I'm being interviewed, what is the spark? You know, that's my brand. My book is The Spark, Igniting Your Best Life. My radio show is The Spark with Stephanie James. And so I get asked that question a lot. What is the spark? And the spark is our essence. The spark is that part of us that it cannot be taken away from us. Like the wind can't blow it out, water can't wet it. It is one of those things that is what is alive within us. And some people call it spirit, some people might call it our God seed, but it is that light within us that no matter what circumstances happen in our lives, it is still there. It's still alive within us. And we do have life circumstances and things that cover it up. And what we have to do is we have to learn how to excavate that spark that's still within us. And so that's part of what we're going to be doing today. So I wanted to start with sharing with you a story from my own life, from my own experience. And so one of the things when I was a little girl, I have to share with you, I feel so lucky because as a child, I had 13 years of wonderful childhood. I was so blessed. I would say it was like a golden childhood for 13 years until it wasn't. I was born into a family where absolutely it felt like all the vacations were spent with relatives and family. And I was one of those little girls who I was definitely a daddy's girl. And so I was one of those people where you could see me following my father. I was his little shadow. If he was at his workbench, then I was at his workbench. If he was out raking leaves, I was doing the same. And if he was in the morning, he would always do this great thing where he would go and shave in the morning and he would always make room for me. And I would sit on the counter with him and I'd be there with my little shaving cream he'd put on my face. And I'd use this little plastic container that I would shave with him. So I was my dad's constant companion. And really, we had such a close, wonderful family until one night. And in this night, my golden childhood was completely shattered and irreversibly broken. And on that night, I was 13 years old. My brother was 10. And we woke up to the sound of screeching tires going out of the driveway. And when we looked out of my second story bedroom window, the scene that was unfolding below was my mother pulling out of the driveway and my father jumping on the hood of the car. And then we saw him pounding on the windshields, trying to get her to come out of the car. And unbeknownst to us, what was happening is that my father had waited till we all went to sleep that night. And then he had told my mother that he was leaving her for who at the time was my best friend's mother. And so I went from having this golden family to my family completely exploding. And my mother at the time, and although she was one of my very best friends now, at the time she had been in love with this man for 18 years. And so what happened is she became very emotionally unstable at the time. And being a daddy's girl, I just went to live with my father. That seemed like the natural thing to do. And so when I went to go live with my father, things started changing. And the first thing that changed is that I was told very quickly by my stepmother that I was considered the other woman. And so from that moment on, I wasn't allowed to speak to my father alone. I wasn't allowed to be with him alone. And to this day, I haven't been allowed to speak to him alone on the phone. And so what that created within me is I felt that I must be unlovable. There must be this reason that my father wasn't allowed to spend time with me. And that got reinforced even more at 16 when I went to go live with my mother. And then my father didn't speak to me for a year. And so I spent the next decade or so of my life searching for love. You know, I kept trying to find it outside of me. I felt like if I just could find the right job, the right car, the right clothes, if I looked good enough, then I could be lovable. Well, all of that started to change. And this has been about 19 years ago when I went to a healing school in San Francisco. And when I went to this school, I walked in the door, and it was the Dr. Jaffe, who was our presenter. As we walked in, he was shaking all of our hands. And he shook my hand. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, as he held my hand almost a little too long. And I felt like he was almost like reading my soul. Well, we got into our seats and he was up on stage, and a little bit into his presentation, he says, hey, you in the blue coat. And I look around, I'm looking everywhere. And I'm like, oh, crud, I'm the one in the blue coat. It was me. And he said, I have a message for you. And he said, what I want to tell you is, and then he went, and I couldn't hear him. And I said to my girlfriend beside me, did you hear what he said? But before she could say anything, he kind of laughed and said, oh, my dear, what I'm trying to tell you is, and again, I couldn't hear him. Well, the third time that he went to say what he was trying to tell me, as he began to say, what you need to hear is, all of the air conditioning units in the whole entire place came on and nobody could hear him. So at that point, everyone is laughing. And he said, okay, there's about 40 of us. And he says, okay, everybody come up on stage, come up here. There were these stairs leading to the stage. And we came and sat down. And he said, wow, my dear, you have such resistance to hearing this message. What I want you to hear is stop trying. Stop trying. Because I'd been trying for so long to earn love. And his message was, you don't have to earn it. He said, you've been trying to be perfect for your father, and now you're trying to be perfect for your husband. Just stop trying. I had no idea how he knew that, but it was such a life-changing point for me. And what I realized at that point is it was just like this card that I had that was framed beside my bed. And that card said, all the strength, all the wisdom, all the beauty that you are seeking are right there inside of you. I should have read that card more often because that was the truth. And so what I realized at that moment was, oh my gosh, I've got to start loving me. And it began a journey that truly ended up changing my life. I went on, and it's been this incredible couple decades now of learning how to befriend myself, learning how to love myself. and cultivating that relationship. And so in my 33 years of being a psychotherapist and being a transformational life coach, I am telling you, I know that loving yourself and befriending yourself, it's not easy. I've seen evidence of it in my office. I've experienced it in my own life. And I've also gone on to create such an amazing, I feel like every decade of my life gets better and better. And I feel so truly blessed to be where I'm at right now, to be authoring my second book, to be getting ready to launch my film, to be in contact with some of the most wonderful people. I feel so blessed with my radio show and a soul tribe of friends and an amazing partner. My life has just blossomed. So I know the same is possible for you. If any of you saw the What We Need to Know Now event that was put on at the end of September, I brought together 22 thought leaders from all over the world. And it was living wisdom for a changing world. And one of those presenters was Sam Cawthorn. And Sam Cawthorn, if you don't know him, what an incredible human being. One of the things that he went through is that he dropped out of high school. He says he was one of those kids that was making all the wrong choices. And at one point he got in a head-on collision with a semi-truck. When that happened, Sam ended up losing his arm and crushing his leg, resulting in being in the hospital for 5 months and in a wheelchair for a year. Now, that was one of those moments, just like mine in San Francisco, that began to be this life-changing event for Sam. And if any of you know him, he was Australia's Entrepreneur of the Year and one of the world's most demanded speakers, sharing a stage with Richard Branson, the Dalai Lama, Michelle Obama. He's a phenomenal man, and I've had the wonderful privilege of cultivating a friendship with him. So I know that when Sam shares these things, I mean, he's sharing it from the inside. And what he shares is the truth of our stories. And we'll be talking more about this as the day goes on. It's amazing. Each one of us has a story. You have a story. The challenges that you have faced are what can be ignited within you to become the gift that you share with the world. And we'll be talking about that later. That's actually the theme of my film that's coming out, which is called Everything's the Spark. So it's called When Sparks Ignite. And it's with 12 of those thought leaders and one of my amazing clients who went through her own personal transformation. So you see her through in it. She's the golden thread that weaves throughout that movie. So we all have a story, and we all have the capacity to learn, as Sam did, as I did, how to befriend yourself, how to cultivate this loving relationship with yourself. So I want to share with you, first of all, and like I said, we've all heard that expression, oh, just love yourself, be your own best friend. But we know it's not that simple, right? So how do you do it? How do you start cultivating this friendship with yourself? And I would say the very first thing that you need to do is start showing up for yourself, to make yourself the priority in your own life. Now, I'm from a generation where when we heard things like that, just be your own best friend, just take care of yourself first, that was considered selfish. But it's not selfish at all. It's actually one of the greatest gifts that you can give to yourself and others. It's like when we give to ourselves, we're replenishing ourselves. And I want you guys to think about how many times have you actually let yourself down? You said, okay, I'm going to start that new food routine. I'm going to start a new diet. I'm going to start exercising. And we don't keep those commitments to ourselves. And so this is an opportunity for you to start cultivating, how do I trust myself? Well, think about it. When you meet someone new and say that you are going to start a new friendship, after one time meeting that person, it's not that you meet them and all of a sudden are like, okay, well, here's everything that's ever happened in my life, my deepest, darkest secrets. And hey, by the way, will you pick up my kids at daycare tomorrow? I mean, we just don't do that, right? We don't just give this instant trust. And the same is true for us. We have to build trust with ourselves. So one of the ways that you can do that is by starting to do this showing up for yourselves and making a commitment where you would do, let's say, start with a 30-day commitment, okay? We know it takes 30 days, about 21 to 30 days for things to carve new neural pathways in our brain to make something a habit. So this is going to be your opportunity to show up and start making it a habit of befriending yourself, okay? And so one of the ways you can do that is by giving yourself a morning routine. That is one of the most simple ways you can start showing up for yourself. And I tell people, just start with half an hour. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't have time, to have another hour in my day. Start with half an hour where you wake up and maybe you do simple yoga. Maybe you do some simple stretches. And then you do 10 minutes of gratitude and affirmation. And maybe just 10 minutes of breathing. One of the greatest meditations that I got from Tom Cronin, who was also on the What We Need to Know Now event, who is a phenomenal transformational leader in our world, who does the Silence Project. That's one of his international projects with the goal of getting 1 billion people to learn how to meditate. And one of the most simple meditations, when Tom was actually my coach about a year ago, was this beautiful meditation. And it was only 20 minutes. And I always have clients start out with doing it 10 minutes and 5 minutes and 5 minutes. If you can't do 10 minutes and 10 minutes. Okay. And this very simple meditation, what you do is you sit down on the floor with your back up against the sofa, or if you're more comfortable with your back up against the wall. And you literally focus on feeling into your body. So you're feeling that connection with your rear end and the floor. And when you do that, if your thoughts rise up to your brain for a moment, that's okay. You can literally do a Kegel, or you can just squeeze down, feel into your rear end and how it connects to the earth. And you'll bring all that energy back down into a really grounded place. So you do that for 5 or 10 minutes. And then literally the next step is you lie in Shavasana. For those of you that aren't familiar with yoga, you're lying flat on your back, your palms in the air, and that's all you do. You just receive. So at that point, wherever your thoughts go, that's okay. You're just going to go with it. Okay? So that's one of those very simple things you can do in the morning. I feel like what we do to show up for ourselves in those ways, and making sure that we just say, okay, I'm going to make that commitment. Every day I'm showing up for that half an hour. Every day I'm going to show up for that hour, whatever feels like the appropriate commitment for you. And that's where you go. That's what you do. And one of the ways to keep track of that, what I love, and I wish I had it here with me, I have a calendar, one of the old-fashioned hang on the wall calendars. And every day when I get done and I show up for myself, instead of crossing out the day, I put a heart on the day because I showed up and I was loving towards me that day. And there's nothing like looking back over a day or back over, a month, and it's full of hearts. And that feels so good because I know in that moment that I've shown up for myself. And so let's talk really quickly about the importance of what I call bookends to your day. And that's what you do first thing in the morning and last thing at night. I'd had Bruce Lipton on my radio show. Now it's been almost 2 years ago. And if you don't know Bruce Lipton, he's an amazing stem cell biologist, phenomenal presenter, absolutely just an amazing guy. And he talks about how as we wake up, as we're waking up and as we're going to sleep, we're in theta brain waves, okay? And that's when our brain is most susceptible to input. So it's really important what we're doing during those times. So during those times, that's why we want to be waking up and doing something like moving into gratitude, moving into affirmations. We want to be putting in our brain something positive. We don't want to be grabbing for the phone. We don't want to be grabbing for the news. Okay. And the same is true the last part of our day. In the last part of our day, we don't want to be listening to the news, something that's going to bring up our anxiety or make us feel fearful. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do something that's programming us for our sleep, because we're going to be marinating on whatever we're thinking about for the next 7, 8, 9 hours. So what we need to do is make sure that it's something we want to be thinking about. And I'll tell you what I do that's worked for me. I've used it for a long time and I absolutely love it. Before I go to sleep at night, I have this little orange rock that one of my girlfriends gave me from her creek in front of her house in Arkansas. And it fits perfectly into the palm of my hand. So it's this great, it's muscle memory. It's a reminder. I see it there on my nightstand and I pick it up. And when I hold that rock, I say to myself, what was the best thing that happened today? Okay. And when I do that, that works really perfectly in 2 ways. Number one of the things I'm doing is I'm reinforcing this thing of what I want to focus on, because we know from quantum physics, what we focus on expands. Okay. So you want to be thinking about, if we're worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, we're worried about the future or these things that feel really out of our control, none of that is happening now, but we have a physiological response to it. We get anxiety or our heart starts beating more quickly. Okay. So our mind really does whatever we hold up in our mind experiences as happening now. Same thing you can think of when you think of something from the past. And in the past, if you're worrying about, oh, I wish I did that differently, or you're ruminating, wishing something else could have happened. Again, it's not happening now, but you're having the physiological response where you don't feel good. You know, you feel that angst in your heart, in your gut. So those are the things that, you know, tell us, wow, whatever I hold up is happening now, or my brain perceives is happening now. So the beautiful thing is we can do that with what we want to focus on. Okay. So when you bring up that image of this is the best thing that happened today, your mind is marinating on that and you start to physiologically experience it as happening now. And I tell people, bring all your senses in. Bring in, you know, what you remember seeing or smelling or hearing or even tasting or touching during the day. That's going to reinforce it all within you. Okay. And the other reason that that is so important is we have a brain, and we'll be talking about the brain a little bit more later, that has a natural negativity bias, which means it's always focusing on the negative. It's focusing on whatever it can to keep us safe, to perpetuate the species. So we have to really, you know, think of it this way. Negative experiences in the brain are like Velcro. Okay. It's like when you touch the hot stove, you only have to touch it once and your brain goes, oh yeah, I got that. I got that filed, right? Don't have to touch the hot stove again. And positive experiences in the brain are like fried eggs on a Teflon pan. They slide right out. We don't need those positive experiences to stay safe. So when we, what I call marinate on them, when we bring them back to mind and we're holding them in our mind, in our heart, what happens is our brain goes, oh, that must be important. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to file that. And so then that becomes one of those things that, again, you know, it's going to be something that we start seeing showing up more and more in our lives. Okay, so the bookends to your day, very important. And as you do that, you're going to be learning how to cultivate this friendship with you. You're going to be learning how to show up for yourself. And that trust just builds and builds and builds. One of the other ways that I love to start my morning is to do something called the 3 C's. And again, anytime you write something down, that's another way that you can make it have what I call stickability in the brain. You're telling the brain, pay attention, this is important. And that's why you write it down. So the 3 C's, I have to say, I got from Tom Cronin, and I use them all the time and I share them all the time because they really work. So in the morning, you're going to journal and you ask yourself, the first question is, how can I take care of myself today? That's the first C. The first C is care. And that might look different every day. Today, the way I might take care of myself, and as I did this morning, I went for a run first thing in the morning, right when I got up. And I got to experience this beautiful, beautiful sunrise. It was absolutely phenomenal. And one of the ways I want to take care of myself is eating nutritional food. I want to do my affirmations, okay? Maybe one of the ways I take care of myself is I'm going to take a hot bubble bath tonight. You know, it's really looking at what's going to nurture my soul. How do I take care of myself today? Okay. The next C is, how do I connect today? How do I connect with others? We know more than ever, connection is important. You know, they did studies with Russian babies who weren't touched. They didn't have connection and they died. They didn't thrive. So we need other people. And even in these days when we might not be able to touch all the time, or we have to wear masks, it is still important to have connection. And we've learned ways to do that. We know now, even through Zoom, as we're in Zoom, we're all here together, we're connecting. We're actually doing what they would say in quantum physics is we're exchanging subatomic particles. We don't have to be in the same room with one another to connect heart to heart. We can do that. So it's reaching out. You know, we all have a deep inherent sense of needing to belong, okay? We want to be in community. We've thrived in community. That's what helps us feel that we are even more vital. You know, we belong. So needing to connect, write down, who am I going to connect with? Who am I going to reach out to? You know, thinking about who is someone that maybe I haven't connected to, an aunt or a cousin, you know, someone that really might just need you to reach out. And then notice how that feels. Okay, we know that connection really strengthens how we feel and our well-being. Okay, and the last C is, how can I be creative this day? How can I be creative? So as we look at that, how can I be creative in this day? Creative is going to be very different, the way that I'm creative. It doesn't mean that you have to go and, you know, do an artwork or you have to crochet something. You can absolutely be creative by, one of the things I love to do is come up with a new song list. I love to make a song list on Spotify of the songs that are lifting me up, or maybe at one point it's the songs that I feel like are really romantic. And that's something that I'll put on, you know, oftentimes my partner and I will end up dancing in the kitchen because we've just, you know, really done something fun and different. So a lot of times creativity, it can literally be walking a different way than you usually walk when you take your dogs for a walk. It's something that helps carve those new neural pathways in your brain. So thinking about, how can I be creative today? When we're in creative state, we are in flow. And that is one of the things that helps us to feel incredible. Okay. So writing down these 3 C's, what a great way to start your day. I want to give you one other way that you can start your day. So you've got lots of options, and then we're going to be doing an exercise together. And I just, you know, again, I want to thank you all for being here. And I want to just say, I hope today that you will play full out. Play with me today. We're going to be doing some exercises, and I want you to be a part of these. You know, I'm excited for you to get out of this class what you want. And so part of that is what you put into it, how you decide to participate today. I don't just want to talk to you all day here. What I want to do is give you some direct exercises that you can be utilizing and incorporating into your life. Okay. So before we go to that, let me tell you, one of the things that I love, and you don't have to buy the journal, you could literally just write this down on your own notebook. One of the things I used for a long time is it's called the 5-minute journal. And the questions in that 5-minute journal were this: as you wake up in the morning, you write down, what are 3 things that I'm grateful for today? What are 3 things that I'm grateful for today? That's the first thing. And then, what are 3 things that would make today really great? What are 3 things that would make today really great? What you're doing is you're getting your brain in a state of anticipation. And one of the things that we know is it's believing is seeing, not necessarily seeing is believing. If we start putting these things in our mind, our brain automatically starts looking for them. Okay, so 3 things that would make today really great. And then 3 I am affirmations. Okay, so things I am can be I am vibrant, I'm enthusiastic, I'm on top of the world, whatever it is that you want to put out there. I'm achieving my goals. I am breaking through limiting beliefs, whatever that is. And then at the end of the day, it's very, very short. It's what were 3 amazing things that happened today? What were 3 amazing things? And these don't have to be the big, what my family calls boom booms, okay? The 3 amazing things, maybe one of the amazing things is someone actually let me go ahead of them in the coffee line today. Someone was really sweet or kind. Maybe one of the amazing things is, I had a really meaningful interaction with a friend. So you get to determine, think in your heart, what are the 3 amazing things that happened today? And then the last thing to write down is, what is one thing that would make today even better? What would have been one thing that would have made today even better? And this is not about beating yourself up. This isn't about, oh, I should have done that. I always say, if I had a bumper sticker, it would be, don't should on yourself. Because when we should on ourselves, we're guilting ourselves. So this isn't about guilt. This is about saying, what could I have done? Boy, maybe I could have eaten cleaner. Okay. Maybe one of the things I could have done differently today is I could have made that extra phone call to a friend. It's priming your brain again for what you want to be thinking about. And it kind of starts giving you that incentive so that then the next day you're more likely to carry through on some of those things. And if you've ever heard Wayne Dyer, the late great Wayne Dyer, talk about this, there's a great little YouTube video called the 5 minutes before you go to sleep. And that's what he's talking about. Really making sure that what you are focusing on before you go to sleep is this positive content, something that lifts your heart and lifts your spirits, so that when you are marinating subconsciously on this in your sleep, it's something that's going to make you feel good upon waking. Okay. And they say, don't watch the news, don't have your computer, your telephone screen on literally an hour before you go to bed. And I know that's hard for all of us, myself included, but just try it. I always encourage people, try it for 1 week. If you try it for 1 week and see what happens, see if you notice a difference in your life. Okay. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to be doing a really fun and activating meditation. And this is an active meditation and you're welcome to do it sitting or standing. If you want to get full up in it, if you're really excited and raring to go today, you can definitely stand up and do it. I love to do it standing. And I love this meditation because it's really easy to remember, because it goes 1 through 10. Okay. And these are one of these great exercises. You could do this anytime you needed to kind of reboot your system. Again, it's great first thing in the morning. It will really get you going. It's quick and it feels really good. Okay. And the mnemonic device, the way you remember is and I'll make sure that I give all these to you. Okay. Is going to be this 1 through 10. And every word is going to rhyme with one of those numbers. Okay. So when you're ready, I want you to start, if you'll join me just for a moment, go ahead and close your eyes. And even if you're standing, make sure, I love seeing people standing up, awesome. You want to just feel balanced in your body. Close your eyes and just take that nice deep breath down into your belly. And slowly letting that go. Beautiful. And again, just a nice deep breath, this time all the way down to your kneecaps. I want you to imagine that your breath is collecting anything that doesn't serve you, and you're exhaling that out with your breath. And then last, nice deep breath, this time all the way down to the tips of your toes. Nice deep breath in. And as you release, it's collecting any particles of tension, anything that doesn't serve you, and it's leaving your body with your breath. Okay, and so to begin with, we're going to start, again, eyes closed. I want you to focus on your heart. And number one is fun. So I want you to imagine that your heart is like this big smiley face. It's just this big, big smiley face. And what it's doing, it's infusing each and every cell of your being. So it's creating all these other little smiley faces that are being generated and flowing throughout your entire being. Just imagine it traveling throughout you. So it's going all the way down to the tips of your toes, through your torso, all through your arms, to your hands, fingers, fingertips, all the way through your back, up through your face and head. And just feeling what it feels like to have all those little smileys just going throughout your entire being. So one is fun. And two is shoe. So I want you to imagine, I want you to feel into your feet. Feel into the soles of your feet. Through your shoes, and imagine that you have these deep roots going down into the ground. Through your feet, really anchoring you. Tethering you to the earth. Okay. And three is tree. And this is why sometimes I can help you. You can sit up straight, or if you're standing, feeling your body as if it's a tree. Feeling into the strength of that tree, your arms as the limbs, your fingers as the leaves. And four is floor. So I want you to imagine that there's this silken cord wrapped around your waist, and it goes down your back, and it's tethered all the way down to the center of the earth, all the way through the floor, all the way to the center of the earth. So it's holding you perfectly tethered right here. You're secure, you're grounded. Okay, great. And five is alive. I want you to feel into your arms, and you can even raise your arms up and extend your fingers. And I want you just to feel that aliveness. Feel that aliveness going through you, through the tree. You're feeling that tingling, that beautiful sensation of you being alive. You can really feel it in the palms of your hands, your fingers, your fingertips. And then bringing your hands down, your arms down when you're ready. Beautiful. Okay, and six is thick. I want you to feel into the core of you as if it is the trunk of your tree, and feel how solid that trunk is. This is a trunk that withstands many storms. And no matter how the weather rages outside of you, this part of you stays solid. This part of you supports you, and you're strong. And now 7 is heaven. And I want you to imagine now that there's another silken cord that's wrapped underneath your armpits, and it goes up, back, behind your head, and it goes all the way up to the heavens. So it goes all the way up where it's supporting you and tethering you. So now you're in perfect balance with one cord tethering you to the center of the earth and the other one centering you all the way up into the heavens. Just allowing yourself to feel that perfect balance of being held and being anchored. And 8 is gate. So going back to your heart, I want you to imagine that there's a gate right there. So as you inhale, you're bringing that gate close. It's like you're gathering up all the love and you bring it inside. And as you exhale, you're opening back up the gate and letting the love out. So doing a couple breaths with the gate. Okay, where you inhale, bringing the love in, and you exhale, bringing the love out. And just practicing for a few breaths here, feeling the love come in and the love come out. Beautiful. And 9 is shine. I want you to feel into the crown of your head and imagine that top of your head just shining, the light just emanating from your head. It's as if you can feel divine light coming down and your head is just completely illuminated. Feel your spirit, feel yourself just shining. And 10 is begin. Imagine yourself stepping out from this point, from this moment, and beginning to live your life in a different way. From this point, you get to begin to choose to do things differently in a way that serves your highest expression of yourself. So taking a breath in, and as you exhale, gently moving fingers, toes, slowly blinking your eyes open, and just allowing yourself to fully be here as you step into this next beautiful moment of your life. All right. All right. How was that? Give me a sign. Okay. Awesome. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit more about how the brain works and what we can do about it. Okay. The lovely thing that we've learned in the last 15 years is that we have something called neuroplasticity. We have neuroplasticity, which means the brain can change. It will change our entire life. So what I want to invite you to do is really start taking on this mindset that no matter what my choices have been, what my thoughts have been, even what my behaviors have been, I can do things differently from this point on. So that's what we want to hold on to, okay? That we can do things differently. And like we talked about before, we do have this part of our brain called the caveman brain. You know, that's our slang term for it. It's this primitive brain where our amygdala and hippocampus reside. And those are the parts of our brain where we look at a stick as we're walking down the street, and that's the part of our brain that says, oh my gosh, it's a snake. You know, it's that quick. And we might look again and see, oh, it's just a stick. But it felt like a snake to our brain, okay? So we do have this natural negativity bias that's guiding the way that our brain where it focuses. Okay. And so one of the things that we know is that when we are in that triggered mind, when we're having anxiety, when things start getting lit up, the signals in our brain are all getting shunted down back into our bodies, back into our muscles, into our blood, that adrenaline and cortisol, so we can fight or we can run. Okay. It's there to save us. When that happens, when we're in triggered mind, those signals don't get through to our prefrontal cortex. And that's the part of our brain that makes executive decisions. It's the part of our brain that helps us to self-soothe. Okay. And so I tell couples that I'm working with, if you guys get in a fight and you're activated, you're not in your right minds. Your mind is literally in fight or flight, and you're not going to work out the problem in that mindset. Just like Albert Einstein told us, you can't solve a problem with the same mindset that got you into the problem in the first place. Okay? So we have to learn how to do things to get us into this greater part of our brain. What happens when we experience anxiety? Anxiety is like a wave. So you can imagine that wave as it comes up. If you all are good readers of your body, raise your hand if you know a way that you experience anxiety, where it shows up in your body. Okay, yeah. A lot of us get it. We know our throat's tight, our chest is tight, our stomach hurts, we start sweating. Okay, that's our body befriending us. Our body's letting us know, hey, you need to do something to chill out. We're getting a hit from our body. We need to do something differently. So when I think of anxiety as a wave, if I notice that wave coming up, and for me, my throat will get really tight, or I'll start getting tension in the backs of my shoulders, I know then I want to do something before it becomes that big wave that can rush over us. And then we really feel like, oh my gosh, I'm drowning. We get into overwhelm. So one of the most simplistic ways that we can change as we notice ourselves getting anxious, our state of being, is a very simplistic breathing technique. And it's 4-7-8 breathing. Okay, 4-7-8 breathing. Because what happens when we start feeling anxious, when we start getting upset, and Lord knows in our world today, all we have to do to get in that state is turn on the television or turn on the news. And all of a sudden, all the fear, all the chaos, unpredictability. Okay. So we need to do something to reground ourselves, to bring ourselves back to center. So what I want to invite you to do is this 4-7-8 breathing. And so what that looks like is that you take a breath in for the count of 4. So it's in through your nose, you hold it for the count of 7. And then you exhale, double slow to the count of 8. And so I invite people to do that. Do it 3 times, see how you feel, and then do it 3 more times and see how you feel. The thing is, if you're breathing up here, you're sending the message to your brain, we're in danger. Okay? I'm breathing in this shallow way because I've got to be ready to run or fight. So as you take these diaphragmatic breaths, these big deep breaths down into your belly, that's how we breathe during REM sleep. Okay? And that tells our brain everything's safe. I can totally be calm and relax. So that's a simple breathing technique. I want you to just write down, try it. You may have noticed even by taking those first 3 deep breaths before the meditation, you felt better. You felt more in your body. You felt more relaxed. Okay, so 4-7-8 breathing. And, I know that all of you are here because you're committed to personal growth. You're ready to change your life and thrive in your life. And I am going to be starting a master class in November. That's going to be a 4-month class. It's 8 sessions to help take you from where you are now and break through limiting beliefs and break through patterns of behavior and things that no longer serve you, to get you to another level. So there's going to be 8 courses. And again, you can ask Morgan questions about this. We're going to be talking more about it at the end. And I want to encourage you all to stay for the question and answer. After the presentation, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm here to stay with you until you feel like any questions that you have been answered, okay? So just wanted to throw that out there. I'm so excited. I'm going to be able to really do, if you want, are you ready to dive deep and do some deeper work and really be committed to yourself? Then I'm excited to do those groups with you. I see a couple people on the call today that have been in the Igniting Your Best Life group with me, and we have just had an amazing journey. We did a year-long group, and this is going to be a condensed, as I said, 4-month group, and you're going to get lots of bonuses with it. I'm going to bonus one-on-one individual session for you guys. You get a copy of my book. You're going to get my breakthrough limiting beliefs limit system. Learning how to develop a prosperity mindset that you've probably never even heard of before. I'm going to give you my whole self priming system and the prioritize yourself 30-day program and befriending yourself calendar. So I'm really excited about that at the end of all this. So stay tuned for some of that. So let's talk about another part of our brain called the reticular activating system. So the reticular activating system is the part of our brain that notices things, okay? And this is a part of our brain that we can actually, left on its own device, it will just notice things that we pay attention to. Remember we said earlier that what we pay attention to expands? The same is true for this, okay? What we pay attention to gets bigger, and we can program it. Now, the way that the reticular activating system, I call it the RAS for short, works is think about when you get a new car. You think to yourself, I am the only person that has this car, until you drive out of the lot and all of a sudden you start noticing that car everywhere. You know, the same thing is true when my daughter was pregnant. She would tell me, Mom, everybody's pregnant. And of course, everybody wasn't pregnant, but that's what she was experiencing in her body. So that's what she noticed. Okay. And so one of the things that I learned about the RAS, I went to this 3-day course on how you can reprogram it, things you can do to change what you are focusing on to really improve your life. And it was this wonderful 30-day challenge as a result. And so that's what I'm also putting to you, is this 30-day challenge with the reticular activating system. And so I'll tell you how it works. What you do is you get a journal and you're going to write down one belief that you want to change. Okay. So instead of saying, okay, like for myself, when I did the course, I had to really think, what is one thing I really want to change about my life? And honestly, at first I had a hard time with this because I'm like, well, things felt pretty good. And actually, so what was interesting is something that actually felt like a positive behavior, because I was so driven, you know, I was a single mom, I got myself through graduate school. I thought, well, those are all really good behaviors. But the truth was that behavior, there was an underlying negative belief. There was a wound underneath that. And that wound was, I have to do it all myself. For those of you that were here in the beginning, you heard my story about when my family, everything exploded in a bloody divorce when I was 13. And the message that I got from that time was, I have to do it all myself. So while it looked really good on the outside that I was driven and I could do all these things, underneath that was that wound. So I thought, well, I want to change that. I don't want to feel like I have to do it all on my own, that I have to do it all by myself. And so what I did instead is I took the belief that I wanted to start journaling to. And the presenter said, blow this out of the water, make it a really big belief so you see the change show up in your life. And so my belief I chose was, the universe completely loves and supports me. Okay. So that's what you would put at the head of your journal. And every single night for 30 days, you write, what is the evidence that shows up to support that? Okay. And when I did that, the first week I was like, wow, I really hadn't noticed. I get the most loving, supportive texts from my girlfriends every day. I had so many nice, like, you're such a sweet friend, thinking of you, love you. I was like, that's so sweet. And then pretty soon I noticed it was actually twice in 1 week, 2 different baristas at the Starbucks that I frequented gave me a free cup of coffee. They were like, we just love when you come in here. You know, it's just so great to see you. And I was like, wow, this feels really good. And it was showing up as people letting me in for parking spaces, people letting me in, you know, ahead of them in the grocery line, and just little bitty things that felt like coincidences, but they were things that felt like, wow, okay, the universe is supporting me. And then 2 weeks into it, something happened that blew the lid off my belief system and changed my life from that point on. And what happened was I had gone during the day to see to take my daughter with me up to Estes Park. And we had just bought this new home. It was my first home as a single mom. And it was my first very own owning my own home. And so I had really put a lot of my savings into redoing this house. It was like a little 1940s bungalow. And we went for the day and we get back from Estes Park. And as we get back, the basement, which had a very, very old water heater in it, had flooded. The bottom of the water heater had rusted out, and there was probably 1/4 of an inch or so standing water everywhere. You know, the brand new carpet, the brand new pad, all these things. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. And I came outside and some neighbors were outside doing different things in their lawns. And it was about 4:30 in the afternoon. And I just went over and said, I don't know what to do. And I need help. And pretty soon I had all these people down in my basement with shop vacs and fans and all these people helping me out. And pretty soon there was a knock on the door. And I went to the door and I opened it up. And a girlfriend of mine lived about 4 houses down. And she had seen all these people coming in and out of my house. And she said, hey, what's happening? And as I told her, she's like, okay, I'll be back in just a moment. I'll be back. And she left, and about 15 minutes later came back and handed me $1,000 check. And she said, I know you don't have money for this right now. I know that you've spent all of this time and money fixing up your home, and you need a new water heater. You and your daughter need warm showers for tomorrow morning. And my husband has a truck, so let's go get you one. And it was like I was so flooded with love and care and support. It literally changed my relationships in my life. Literally, that is the point when I developed a best friendship with my mother. I didn't even realize I hadn't even been letting her in. You know, I was so into this, I can do it all myself, that I hadn't let her show up for me. My girlfriends were saying to me, oh my gosh, you know, it is so incredible that now you'll share what's going on in your life. And like, you have problems too. Thank God. You know, now we have more permission to be ourselves. So it became this really, really powerful changing thing to just change that one belief in my life. So think about it for you right now. Take a moment and write down what is one thought you want to change. One thought that's not serving you. And then think about, what would you like to believe about yourself instead? And I want you to write it out in positive, present tense language. And that means that you say, you know, instead of saying, I am not going to binge eat anymore, okay? The way our brain works, it negates the not, and it just hears, I'm going to binge eat. Okay, so we want to tell our brain what we do want instead. I am following a healthy diet. Okay, and you can make it again as big as you want to. I am fit and healthy and vibrant. And then every day for 30 days, you're going to journal. Okay, the evidence that shows up to support that. And I want to remind you, you know, we are so all in this together because all of our brains work this way. One of the things that happens is that we are given things that happen in our lives. And from those things, if we have a negative belief, or if we go through something that's traumatic, our brain holds on to that belief. And we've gotten these negative messages in our life, and we start believing that they're true about us, even though they're not true at all. But we start, like we talked about how our brain works, and it starts collecting evidence. It searches the environment literally for what we already believe. So if we believe these negative things about ourselves, our brain's going to search the environment and find evidence of it. When we change those thoughts, we change what we want to program into our minds, our brain starts naturally looking for evidence to support what we want to believe about ourselves instead. So it's not that you would be a negative thinker and you're stuck in that negativity. You're never stuck. Things become a habit because we've thought them over and over and over again. It's not that they're true. They just feel like they're true. Just like everyone believed forever, for a long, long time, during Christopher Columbus's days, that the world was flat. And that you would sail off the edge. Okay. That wasn't true, but everyone believed it. Okay. So we know now, we've seen pictures, we get it. People sailed around the world. We know the earth is round. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to program these new beliefs into your system. And as you start gathering evidence of it over and over and over again, what happens is literally you're carving new neural pathways in your mind. That's all a habit is. It's a thought that's been thought so many times that a crust has built up over that neural pathway called the myelin sheath. It's a little crust and it makes it that quick. Okay. And so you're going to start every time you do this, every time you think these new thoughts and you collect the evidence, you're building up that myelin sheath for this new belief structure to take hold instead. Okay. So now let's move in to talking a little bit about joy boosters, because people are always talking to me about, I want to increase the positive in my life. So joy boosters, if anyone knows Marty Seligman, he was the president of the American Psychiatric Association in 1999. And when he became the president, he started doing things differently. And Marty is one of those people. He's a great thought leader. He has done so much with his research at Penn State to really increase the focus of how do we feel happy? How are we resilient? And what he did is he brought into focus what's known now as positive psychology. So instead of focusing on these are the things that create anxiety, or these are the things that are the symptoms of depression, he said, let's focus on these are the things that create resiliency. These are the components of courage. These are all these different pieces to these positive things that help us to thrive. And so through his research, he was able to literally pick out what are the things that help us substantially boost our joy and keep it that way. So in his longitudinal studies, in one 5-year study, the thing they found that boost people's joy and literally maintained it was that simple practice we've spoken of a couple times today, which is writing out your gratitudes, feeling them in your hearts. Because the more you focus on what you're grateful for, the more you're going to be able to see it. Again, it's that whole thing we just talked about with the reticular activating system. Okay? The more you focus on what you are grateful for, the more you're going to see it. And it's not just this, don't let it be just a parting thought. Let it be something that you bring into your heart. Again, you really focus on, you marinate on a little bit. That's going to reinforce it. Okay? And then I loved this. So I always have to tell people about this joy booster because this was so great. He spoke about one joy booster that really gave people a significant boost, and it sustained just this one event alone for 3 months, an increased sense of well-being, is to write someone a letter that has really been significant in your life. Someone you feel like, wow, they've made a difference in my world. They've done things that help change my perspective or encouraged me at a time I really needed that love or care or nurturing support. And here's the thing, you don't send them the letter. You can do it on a Zoom call, or if you have the chance, the research said, if you are able to be in physical presence with this person and read them the letter, that's one of the most powerful things you can do. And not only will it boost your joy, it's going to significantly impact and boost that other person's joy as well. So I want to invite you to think about those as 2 ways to boost your joy. Gabriella Masala was my co-host for the What We Need to Know Now event. And if you want to meet somebody that is full of joy, that woman, I always say she's just a spark plug. She is a little firecracker. And so she is always bursting of joy. And what I have learned from her, and she is truly one of my dearest soul sisters and closest friends. And what she does to boost her joy is she starts out every morning being in touch with nature. She lives in Austin, so it's pretty nice there year round, but goes outside. They have so many deer on their property, and she literally meditates outdoors, spends time in nature, meditates out there. And, I have to tell you, not all of us have that, right? I mean, I live in Colorado. I don't have that beautiful weather all year round. And even though I don't, one of the practices that I do every morning that absolutely gives me a set point of joy in my morning is I go in my backyard and I put my feet on the ground, no matter if it's snowing or rainy, it doesn't matter. I want to feel my feet in the grass. And then I literally just stretch my arms up to the sky and I just soak in the sky, because the sky is going to be beautiful and different every morning, even if it's raining, even if it's snowing. And then I just allow myself to receive whatever the abundance of the day is. I surrender my heart, whether you might call it your higher power or source, the divine, the universe. And then I just absolutely am in that state of gratitude. That is my set point for joy every morning. Okay. So I'm inviting you to think about, what are the things that light you up and what things bring you joy? Natalie Ledwell was also one of the presenters on the What We Need to Know Now. And for those of you that know Natalie does a lot of work with Joe Dispenza, and she is the one that is the co-creator of Mind Movies, which is one of the most amazing ways. I love Mind Movies. It's where you make a movie and you literally are choosing pictures, songs, affirmations, and you come up with a little 10-minute movie for yourself. So I want to invite you to check out her website. You can go to Natalie Ledwell or Mind Movies and just check out that software. It is one of those phenomenal things, as we're talking about. It's something you can watch, you're seeing it, you're hearing it. It's so interactive with your senses. And again, something to start instilling these positive things within you, helping you to have that joyful set point and then creating more joy in your life. Okay. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to share with you all as well, that, creating our own joy, we can have these conversations and go this is great. I love thinking about being joyful and breaking through limiting beliefs. And yet, I know it's not easy. And maybe, Stephanie, yeah, you went through that thing when you were 13, but, your life seems like it's been pretty cushy, probably pretty easy. And, I'm here to share with you that I definitely have gone through my challenges as well to get to, thriving in my life as I am right now. And one of those things is I struggled for 10 years with my daughter's addiction. And she's been clean and sober a little over 4 years now. So I have like this deep, deep gratitude in my heart for that. But for those 10 years, it was really tough. And so a little over 4 years ago, it came to this point where I had to put her in treatment for 3 months. And at that time, I had to take over taking care of her 3 and 4-year-old boys. And let me tell you, at the time I was married, I had been jet setting around, really enjoying this affluent life. And all of that came crashing down. And I was going to work in my private practice, seeing coaching clients, and literally everything else was taking care of these 2 boys at 3 and 4 years old. It actually ended up being the end of my marriage, this situation. And there was a night when this all began, when my then husband was at a conference, and I had just had the boys a week all by myself. And I'd gotten home from work and I was so exhausted. And I'm putting them to bed. They were in these 2 twin beds, and I've got my head on the nightstand and I'm just stroking their backs and just feeling exhausted. I mean, I could barely keep my head up. And I got in my room after they fell asleep, and I was just angry. I was like angry at life. I was like, this is not how I wanted life to turn out. You know, I was mad at my daughter. I was mad at my husband. I was just feeling like, I can't believe this is it. This is what's happened. And it was literally at that point, I mean, we've all heard the expression that I hit my knees. And I'd hit my knees only one other time. And that was a few years before that, when I found out that my daughter was using heroin. My perfect, 10.0, her entire educational career, beautiful, fun, amazing daughter. And that was the first time I hit my knees. And this time, feeling all the world crashing down on me, I hit my knees again. And I just said, I was literally praying, like, I just surrender. I surrender all of it, all of me, my entire life. There's nothing I can do to fix it. I can't make this go away. And whatever I've been trying to push through in my life to have it happen, it's not working. So, you take it. And what was interesting is, from that point, what happened is I went to sleep and had the best night's sleep I'd had in years. And literally about a week later, I'm at my office and I hear this knock on the door. And in comes this gentleman. And I literally had just been sitting there thinking to myself, how do I get back into radio? I had been a guest speaker on a radio station out of Greeley, Colorado, and I absolutely loved what I was doing. And I thought, how do I do that? I hadn't done it for about a year. Well, this knock happens on the door. This gentleman comes in and he literally says to me, how would you like to do your own radio show? I just think you'd be perfect. And he said, I about came out of the chair. I was so excited. And went through the training, worked at the local station here in Fort Collins. And then from there, the spark was ignited. My show, The Spark, with Stephanie James. And for those of you that haven't listened to it, please go check it out. Check out our archive on transformationaltalkradio.com. That's transformationaltalkradio.com. And the people that have shown up for that radio show, it's been phenomenal. Just like on my event, I've had thought leaders from all over the world, change makers and wisdom keepers in the area of psychology, spirituality, science, brain hackers, entrepreneurs. I've had Bruce Lipton, Larry Dossey, Pedram Shojai, Ariel Ford, Don Jose Ruiz. I mean, I can't even think of all the amazing people. And it's been such a blessing. And from that came the film, which is about to be launched. And just meeting all these amazing people and just expanding my life in amazing and beautiful ways. And I truly feel like that all came from that point of surrender. So maybe thinking about in your life, as I want to create joy, as I want to create these things, what am I willing to surrender? Are there things I need to purge or give up? From that point, and I've told everyone, life begins at 50. That's when that moment happened. And I'm so happy to say that my daughter is thriving. The boys are thriving. She's happily married and back in school to finish her degree. And it's just been a blessing. So the last 4 years have been even more ignited. And the same thing can happen for you. So one of the things that we have to do to get to these places where we're feeling more vitality, more joy, more abundance in our life is we have to befriend our emotions. We talked about befriending ourselves. So part of befriending ourselves is befriending our emotions as well. So that's the positive and the negative. A lot of times we think, or we've been told as kids, don't be angry, don't be sad. I work with so many men in my practice, and some of them, have been CEOs or brain surgeons, heads of departments at CSU here, our university. And we talk a lot, and this is women too. So this is not just about men, but we talk about this 18-inch journey from our heads into our hearts and how essential that journey is. And that journey has to deal with all of our emotions, okay? And so how do we befriend what shows up? I want to tell you there's one of these ways of remembering the reason we should befriend our emotions, because what we resist persists. So if I'm telling myself, I don't want to feel angry, I'm actually amplifying my anger. If I get anxious about being anxious, I've just made that anxiety that much worse. Okay. If I'm bummed and see myself as, oh my gosh, I must be depressed because I'm sad. Again, I'm amplifying it. I'm deepening that depression. So there's a different way to deal with it. And that is welcoming in what it is that we're feeling. Okay. So I think about part of this. I think about Jacob Lieberman, who is also one of our presenters. And Jacob, oh my gosh, he is just such an amazing soul on this earth. His book, Illuminated Life, is just a phenomenal book. If you haven't checked it out, I really encourage you to. He is an optometrist, but a vision scientist as well, and an international speaker, and just phenomenal soul on this earth, as I've said. One of the stories that he told me that I always hold true to my heart is this thing of the sand in the oyster. And that sand comes into the oyster and it agitates it. And it creates this agitation, this angst, if you will. And it's from the oyster churning and churning and churning it that something beautiful, the pearl, is born. Okay, that's what's created through dealing with the agitation. So one of the ways of making more room to be this conduit for joy, for effervescence, is to feel your feelings as they come up. And one of the ways you do that is just by noticing the energy, because our emotion is just energy. Yes, we can attach a story to it and we can amplify it. And we can notice, how is it showing up in my body? Maybe I have a tightness in my throat, in my chest, in my belly. If we actually just breathe into the emotion, it starts to dissipate. It starts to change. So I want you to think about it that way. Think about, I'm going to start learning how to befriend what shows up. Everybody has all of those emotions, right? We all have those emotions. And some of the bravest people I know, and bravest men I know, have the courage to cry. It takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable for all of us. And I want to share with you this poem. And if any of you, as I said, I see some familiar faces. If you know me, then you know this poem because I love this poem so much. It's such a perfect expression of this. And it's The Guest House by Rumi. And Rumi was a 13th century poet. And this guest house to me just helps to make sense of this whole thing of befriending our emotions. Okay. So this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And that has always just resonated so much in my heart. When we befriend our emotions, we just pave the way for experiencing life in a more joyful, full, relaxed, calm way. We don't have to be afraid of what shows up because life's always going to do this. Okay, life's always going to be bumpy, but when we embrace what's there instead of reject it, the bumps are a little smaller actually. Okay, we don't have the big extremes. So I want you to practice with me a little exercise, if you will, that will really help you learn how you can shift some of this within yourself. So if you have your journals, this is a really good time. You're going to be utilizing them so you can write this down and remember it. But I want you to do it with me so you'll also have that kinesthetic experience of it. So you can remember to use this when you need to work your way through negative experiences or negative emotions. Okay. So first of all, I want you to take a moment, just a quick moment, and close your eyes and think of something maybe in the recent past that wasn't pleasant. Something maybe that didn't feel good. And as you bring that thing to mind, I want you to notice where it's at in your body. Where are you getting the hit? So notice where that energy is living within you. Okay. And then from there, I want you to notice how big it is. How big is it? Is it inside your body? Is it outside of your body? You know, notice how big is it? Is it as big as a basketball or a box? Or maybe it's just as big as a thimble. Notice how big it is. Okay. And now I want you to imagine that if this emotion, if this thing had a shape, what would the shape be? And you can write this down. What's the shape? So first you notice the size, then you go to the shape. And if this thing had a color, what color would it be? Feel inside yourself and notice the color. And if it had a texture, what would the texture be? Rough, bumpy, smooth, spiky. And if this thing had a smell, what would the smell be? I've heard people say before it smelled like burning wood, or it smelled like rotten eggs. And then notice if this thing had a sound, what would the sound be? Some people have said it sounds like breaking glass, nails on a chalkboard. Okay, so now when you've defined this by shape and size, color, texture, smell, sound, I want you to imagine that there's this stream of light, and it can be coming from the heavens or the cosmos. And this is this source light, this healing light. And I want you to imagine it, any color that you associate with healing. Imagine it's coming right down in through the top of your head and directly into that place. And as it comes in, the beautiful thing about this light is that the more that you use, the more that is available to you. It's this never-ending stream of light. So imagine it surrounding this place, going in and around and through, permeating and penetrating each and every molecule. And notice what happens. And if you need to send another ray of light down, again, let that ray of just powerful healing light coming in through the top of your head and directly in to this place. As it starts to dissipate or dissolve, continue to send the light, allowing it to move and shift and change, and breathing into this shape as this beautiful light permeates and penetrates, goes in, around, and through each and every molecule. And then just breathe in and notice how you feel. And raise your hand if you feel a shift. Let me see if you feel a shift. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Okay. Great. So that's one of those wonderful ways that we can start befriending what shows up, and we don't have to be afraid of it. Okay. So we're getting closer to winding down. And one of the things I want to share with you is that these are just little pieces that we've done today to help us start to ignite those sparks. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to dive deeper with you if you're committed to personal growth and you're ready to dive deeper and you're really ready to thrive in your life. And before we do that, before I move into moving to really, what we can do together to really continue to wrap up this year and start your next year in an even more ignited state, I want you to practice one last thing with me, because this is one of the things I love that has really helped to ignite the spark within me. And we began this session together by talking about learning how to befriend ourselves, learning how to love ourselves. And this is one of my favorite ways to cultivate that self-love. So if you're still willing to participate, I love being able to see people that have been really, really going for it and helping to expand your experience during this time. So this is actually an exercise on cultivating, growing self-love. So if you will join me, again, just closing your eyes for a moment and taking that nice deep breath within you. Focusing all your energy back into your heart center. Nice deep breath all the way down to your belly and letting go. And then bringing a hand to your heart. Really breathing into the palm of your hand for a moment. Just feeling the energy connect between your heart and the palm of your hand. Beautiful. Now I want you to bring to mind a time when you were really loving towards someone. And this could be an animal, it could be a human being, it could be nature, but a time that you felt that love igniting within your heart and what it felt like to give that, to send that out. You may even imagine if it was an animal or a person, what that person or animal's face looked like, what their eyes looked like as they received that love from you. And really feeling into what it feels like to give it. And now I want you to imagine a time when someone was really loving towards you. And again, this might be an animal, might be a human. And imagine what it felt like to receive that love, those kind words or a hug, and really bringing that down inside of you, really feeling that love, receiving it, what it felt like to receive it, and again, feeling it now. And now I want you to imagine that you are sending out that same love and it's being caught in the palm of your hand where it completes this circle and comes right back to you. And you start by just extending that love to the parts of yourself that are already easy to love. The parts of you that might be just your loving heart, the way you show up as a friend. It might be your sense of humor, that you're a hard worker, that you're a loving parent. And it might even be physical characteristics. You might just say, oh my gosh, I really do love the color of my eyes or my smile. It's okay to extend love to those parts of yourself. So really feeling into those parts that we already love. And now again, I want you to imagine that light coming down through the top of your head, and it can be higher power, source, universe, whatever that is to you, or just a healing light. But imagine that light as that unconditional love coming down, and as it hits your heart, it expands that sense of love, allowing you to radiate that love out to those parts of you that may be a little more difficult to love. And what you're saying internally to yourself is, I am willing to be open to the possibility of falling in love with these parts of myself. I'm willing to grow in love with these parts of myself that are more difficult to love. The times maybe I make mistakes, or I don't show up perfectly, or I feel embarrassed. And just extending love to those parts of you. Really feeling that going through you. And then breathing into your heart center and really feeling that love radiating. As if there's a warm sun that's gathered in your chest. And it's radiating that love out. Again, just infusing each and every cell with love and well-being. And breathing in. Taking that all in. And now bringing yourself back to the moment. Feeling yourself grounded in your chair, moving your body a little bit, blinking your eyes open. And just noticing what that feels like. That's something I want to encourage you to practice on a daily basis. As we said in the very beginning, as we practice things over and over again, it grows. It's like growing, you're growing neural matter, you're growing heart matter. Okay. You're cultivating that beautiful relationship with you that's going to make transformation. And I do want to invite each and every one of you to join me for the next 4 months as we move into this master's class of igniting your best life. It's going to increase your sense of calm and resiliency, energy, and you're going to just be on fire as you ignite your best life. So we're going to meet 2 times in November, once in December on the 14th, and then we're going to go right into the new year. And these methods are really going to help you, my methods and the things that I've extracted in my 33 years of experience as a psychotherapist, as a transformational coach, and then being able to work with literally now hundreds of international thought leaders, wisdom keepers, and change makers, and extracting the wisdom and knowledge that I've gleaned to really help you visualize your dreams, actualize your goals, and help you create tangible results in the areas that really are the most important to you. And as a result of doing this work, you're going to feel fulfillment, you're going to be energized. I think this is going to be, you're going to actualize these dreams that you thought, like, I never could. So I'm so excited for you to do this. And so for those of you that are here at the event today, usually this is something, people think about, well, what would I pay to transform my life? $10,000, $5,000, the regular price would be around for this course, $3,500. But today, for the people that are on this call for the next 4 months, I'm going to be doing it for $997 for all 4 months. And so, I think what's amazing is just one session with me that you'll get bonused for joining this. Just one session is $450. And if you sign up today, and you're going to have an opportunity to do that, and my assistant Morgan is going to help you to just sign on. So you can just give him a little note in the chat that you'd like to sign up. You can start with just $97 today, and then make 3 payments of $333. The total price of that will be $1,096 if you want to do payments. But if you do the full price today, you're going to get these bonuses as well. So for $997, you're going to get a copy of my book, The Spark, Igniting Your Best Life. You're going to get an hour individualized one-on-one coaching session with me, which is a $450 value. You're going to acquire my breakthrough limiting belief system, how to develop this prosperity mindset, which we will go into detail with, and then my whole self-priming system, and a way for you to really set up this 30-day prioritizing yourself. Really, it totally reignites and resets your life to live in just an expanded version of yourself in full expression. And if you sign up today anyway, I'm going to send you my book. I want to send you my book, and would love to do that with you, and want to be continuing to gift you as many things as possible. So again, I want to make sure that you can let Morgan know if you want to get on. The masterclass is going to be phenomenal. We're going to be meeting Tuesday nights. I think the very first class is November 16th, and then the 30th, and then December 14th, and then the 4th of January. So you can see how that's going to start spacing out. And it meets for an hour. And we've just had a beautiful community in our first Igniting Your Best Life group. And I'm just excited to be able to go on this journey with you, and to help you take the things that you've learned today and expand them even more in your life. So that is the information that I have for you today. And as I said, I'm going to open it up to questions, if people have questions now. And Morgan, if you can unmute people, and as you have questions, just let me know. Go ahead, and Morgan, if you can undo the mute, or maybe I need to. Okay, So just raise your hand if you have a question. Anybody?
I don't have a question, Stephanie, but I want to acknowledge the brilliance of this class today and just how much you just touched me in so many ways. So I just want to thank you for the great class. It was just really amazing. And I look forward to working with you on a continuous basis.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much. I'm so excited about working with you as well. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Comments, questions?
I wanted to say thank you. I definitely really needed to hear this because I've been dealing with a few hectic weeks and I've been feeling a bit kind of trapped lately.
Yeah. Well, Cameron, yeah, I would love to work with you anytime, and I'm so glad that this helped lift you up. And I know that we'll continue to be in contact. Thanks so much for being here, Cameron.
Of course. Thank you for helping me.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I thank you so much. You gave us so much in this 2 hours. It really lifted me up. And I learned already a lot, just today I feel much better to continue, and you did give us your spark. So,
Oh,
yeah. So I'm just wondering, so twice a month when we meet, is that 2 hours as well?
so it'll be an hour each time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you'll get the one-on-one hour that we'll schedule just for the two of us.
Yeah, for one time.
For one time, which will really and I do individual coaching as well, which is just absolutely one-on-one if you prefer that. And that's a different price point.
So would you share the price now or private?
Well, yeah, I can share it now. So I do packages of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. So for a 4-month package, that's $7,200. And if you sign up today, it would be $6,800. So
for how many hours or how many days?
So it would, that's for 16 weeks. That's for 4 months. And we'd meet twice a month.
Uh-huh.
And it'd be a 1-hour session.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it'd be absolutely individualized and individually tailored to what you need.
Okay, twice a month and 1 hour.
Yes.
That's the fee is $680, you said?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I think I'd like to have you alone.
Wonderful. Yes, wonderful. Just reach out to Morgan right there and he will connect you.
Okay.
And we'll get you signed up. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know how to get to.
So where it just says chat.
Oh, chat. Okay, I thought that was for everyone. All right, thank you.
There's a little bar that goes down where you can just make it private to Morgan.
Just oh, the arrow down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So anyone else? Just seeing all these wonderful faces. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, so wonderful to have you all here. Okay. So if we are complete, please know that Morgan is going to stay on for a few moments. I'm going to go ahead and get off. But I just deeply honor each and every one of you. Thank you so much for making yourself a priority today. And I'm hoping that you are taking all of that with you so you can ignite your spark. Bye,
you.
Rebecca.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Steph.
thanks.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
And
Stephanie.
Enjoy,
Thank
enjoy
you.
the day.
You
Yeah.
too. Bye-bye.
Hi,
Morgan.
Salome Casa too. Oh, and go ahead and unmute yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to have Stephanie reach out to you and you can coordinate directly?
Okay, if she's free, yeah, let me just get my bag, okay? 1 second.
All right. And Rebecca, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I think I wanted to do the payments for the group,
Uh-huh.
the 4-month group. And so 97 today, 333, 333, and 333. Is
Yeah.
that how that works? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You
Get
know what,
my
Rebecca?
wallet.
And do the so if you want, I put in the chat the links directly to